Have you ever wondered why, during every global crisis, you lose your savings while the ultra-wealthy only get richer? You might think it's luck, you might think it's corruption, but you'd be wrong. This injustice has a name, and it's not the name of a person, it's the name of a computer code. While you're reading the news and panicking about the economy, on a server farm in Washington state, an algorithm has already calculated your future. It's already decided the price of your gas, the interest rate on your mortgage, and which companies will survive the next recession. We like to believe we live in a free market democracy, but the reality is much colder. Democracy is just the user interface. The real power lies in the operating system. And that system is owned by a single company that manages assets larger than the GDP of almost every country on Earth. Today, we aren't here to talk about conspiracies, we're here to talk about math. We will expose the mechanics of the machine that runs the world and why the next crash might be the last one. To understand the scale of the control, you have to stop looking at the people in suits. You have to look at the technology. Meet Aladdin. Officially, it stands for Asset, Liability, Debt, and Derivative Investment Network. It sounds boring on purpose, but in reality, Aladdin is the nervous system of the global economy. Every single night, this machine performs 200 million calculations. It models thousands of potential futures, from a tsunami in Japan to a tweet from Elon Musk. It monitors every stock, bond, and loan in real time. For decades, Aladdin was just a risk management tool. But in 2025, it became something much more terrifying. Following BlackRock's $3.2 billion acquisition of Preqin, the system now sees what was previously invisible: private capital, hedge funds, and real estate data. And with the integration of new generative AI models, traders no longer just look at charts, they talk to the portfolio. The AI interprets complex risks and simplifies them into a single command: buy or sell. But a mind this powerful needs a physical body. In 2025, BlackRock shifted its strategy from just managing money to building the physical world of AI. Through a massive $30 billion partnership with Microsoft, they began constructing the Global AI Investment Partnership. They aren't just buying stocks anymore. They are building the massive data centers and the energy grids, including nuclear power plants, required to keep Aladdin and its siblings alive. This is the ultimate monopoly. They own the data, they own the algorithm that processes it, and now they own the electricity that powers it all. You cannot unplug a system that owns the socket. Aladdin sees everything. It tracks satellite imagery of retail parking lots to predict earnings. It tracks the flight paths of corporate jets to predict mergers. It tracks your credit card data to predict inflation. This is not an evil AI that wants to destroy humanity. It's much more pragmatic. Aladdin is an optimization engine. Its only goal is to maximize efficiency. And if your job, your business, or your country is inefficient, the algorithm will simply delete it from the equation.
We are raised to believe in competition. It is the foundation of capitalism. We see Apple suing Google over patents. We see Pepsi waging marketing wars against Coca-Cola. The media loves these stories. They paint a picture of a vibrant, fighting market. But if you zoom out, if you look at the shareholder registry, the war stops. BlackRock and Vanguard are the top institutional shareholders of both sides of almost every corporate conflict. They own Apple and Google. They own Pepsi and Coke. They own the company making the missiles and the company rebuilding the cities destroyed by them. So, ask yourself, why would they want real price competition? Why would they want Coca-Cola to lower its prices to beat Pepsi if that lowers the profit margins for the same owner? They don't. It is more profitable for them to have a soft monopoly, where prices stay high wages stay low, and consumers have the illusion of choice. When you see a billion-dollar lawsuit between two tech giants, remember, the money is simply moving from BlackRock's left pocket to its right pocket. The lawyers get paid, the media gets clicks, and you pay higher prices. This isn't capitalism. It is a simulation.
You might ask, where is the government? Where are the antitrust regulators? This is the most critical part. BlackRock has ceased to be just a player in the game. It has become the referee. In 2008, when the housing market collapsed, the U.S. government didn't know what to do. They didn't have the data. So the Federal Reserve hired BlackRock to manage the bailout. A private company was paid to decide which banks would live and which would die. In 2020, during the pandemic crash, it happened again. The Fed hired BlackRock to buy corporate bonds to save the economy. Think about the conflict of interest. The entity advising the government on what to buy is the same entity that is selling it. They know where the money hose will be pointed before the market does. This is legalized insider trading on a national scale. This is made possible by the revolving door. Look at the resumes of the top officials in the U.S. Treasury and the White House. They are former BlackRock executives, and when they leave government, they go right back to BlackRock with a pay raise. And this isn't just an American story. By 2025, this model has gone global. BlackRock now acts as an architect of national policy in nations like Ukraine and across the Middle East. When a corporation becomes the consultant for the world's nations, voting starts to feel like choosing the wallpaper in a house you no longer own. There is no line between the state and the corporation anymore. They are one and the same. For a few years, the world was obsessed with ESG, environmental, social, and governance scores. It was a political tool used to force corporations into a new social order. But look at the headlines in 2025. You don't hear Larry Fink saying ESG anymore. He realized that identity politics is bad for the bottom line. The new strategy has a much harder edge. It's called infrastructure. BlackRock is now pivoting from woke capitalism to concrete capitalism. They are aggressively lobbying for a nuclear renaissance, funding the massive power plants needed to fuel the AI revolution. They aren't just buying digital shares anymore. They are buying the physical foundation of the future. Nowhere is this more visible than in the Ukraine Development Fund. BlackRock isn't just an investor there. They are the official architects of a nation's rebirth. They are the ones deciding which global corporations get the contracts, who builds the highways, and who controls the energy grid. This is the ultimate evolution of power. This is the definition of a shadow government. They don't need to win elections or sit in parliaments. In 2025, the map of the world is being redrawn, not by generals with tanks, but by asset managers with spreadsheets. Because the truth is simple. If you own the energy, if you own the data, and if you own the debt of a nation, you own the nation. But the biggest danger is not a conspiracy. It is a mathematical flaw in the system. We are facing a risk called monoculture. Imagine the global economy as a massive theater. The music is playing, the market is going up, and everyone is happy. But here is the problem. 17,000 of the world's top traders and central banks are all using the same map, Aladdin. They all see the same risks. They all see the same opportunities. What happens when the algorithm detects a fire? What happens when Aladdin decides that the risk is too high? All 17,000 actors will try to exit the market at the exact same second. They will all rush to the same door. But the door is also an algorithm. In that moment, liquidity evaporates. There are no buyers, only sellers. The market doesn't just fall, it vanishes. This is the liquidity trap. By optimizing the system for efficiency, we have made it fragile to a single point of failure.
In 2025, this fragility reached a breaking point. As BlackRock integrated agentic AI into Aladdin, systems that can execute trades autonomously without a human in the loop, the speed of the reaction has shifted from minutes to milliseconds. We have created a world where a market crash can happen faster than a human synapse can fire. It won't be a crisis we can manage, it will be a mathematical finality. BlackRock has chosen the perfect strategy. They don't want the presidency. Official power comes with term limits, public criticism, and responsibility. They prefer to be the back end of civilization. They are the operating system that runs regardless of who is in the White House. We are witnessing the rise of the invisible code. When the operating system of the world is private property, you are no longer a voter, you are a data point in a managed portfolio. So, as we stare into a future managed by generative AI and consolidated capital, I have one question for you. Should a law exist that prohibits a single company from managing assets that exceed the GDP of superpowers? Or have we already passed the point of no return? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to understand who actually built this system back in 1913, subscribe to the channel. That video is coming next.